Let's talk about the Civil War that's coming. How about that, guys? We got
Everyone
the story
drink. Take a shot.
Everybody drink. All right. Arizona sheriff steps up security around ballot drop boxes amid reports of intimidation. I wanted to ask you guys about this because we have this story. Some guys were wearing bulletproof vests. They had guns. They were in Maricopa County, and they're sitting next to some ballot drop boxes. Apparently, there's an organization that's advocating for watching these ballot boxes. And I said this was going to happen. I said, after like 2,000 mules and after a lot of these claims, people are going to go to the drop boxes and they are going to watch. Then you're eventually going to see Antifa show up. We've already had one woman show up and confront them. The cops got called. Now the sheriff is sending, I guess, security, police to monitor these boxes. And I don't know. Does this escalate? What the Bulwark wrote, and we're all big fans of the Bulwark. They're the conservative neocons who hate Republicans. It's weird. They wrote that their scenario that they fear for escalation of civil war is that at a polling location and on the midterms, someone is there observing, someone on the right, they're armed. They see someone who they think is committing fraud or something. A fight breaks out, a gunshot rings out, a poll worker is on the ground bleeding, someone films it. That was their scenario. My scenario is simpler. Two guys show up, they got bulletproof vests and they got guns. They're watching the ballot drop box. A leftist walks up to him, starts screaming, saying, "Get out of here, you're white supremacists." A scuffle breaks out, nothing serious. The police are called and the police are forced to start pushing people back. Nobody can vote. The polling location is now closed and a dispute arises as to whether or not the election can be legitimate if polling locations are being shut down.
I don't know where we go from here. People don't have faith in these drop boxes. And just to take it back a little bit, I think it was Philly where they had the Black Panther Party that was intimidating voters back maybe a decade ago or whatever, and nothing happened. So it goes back. We've had scuffles at polling locations. I think it was John Calhoun's father who took guns to the legislature to get his own district or whatever. So fights occur in these places, but people do need to have faith. We need cameras. We need enforcement mechanisms to make sure that there aren't thousands of ballots being dropped off. It happened in Muskegon County in Michigan. I'm hearing stuff in Wisconsin already. It happens
it's happening
all over
right
the place.
now.
Yeah, I think it's happening right
now.
now.
I think the question too is which states allow ballot harvesting and which don't, because some do.
Well, I mean, even in Wisconsin, where I served on election day and then helped out with that investigation later, there was a Supreme Court decision there where they said, you can't ballot harvest, but I'm still hearing that people come in with bags, you object, and they don't listen to you. So it doesn't matter if the law on the books is one thing, if there's no way for you to enforce it.
Well, I think the issue right now, depending on where this goes, is simple. I think people should be watching ballot boxes.
Yeah.
I think there should be cameras. I think there should be security. Hold on, let me slow down. There shouldn't be ballot drop boxes at all. We should not have election month. We should have election day. It should be a federal holiday. People should get time off to be able to go and vote and then enjoy a nice beer and pizza with their friends afterwards or whatever. But if we're going to have any kind of polling location, then I think we should have security cameras on everything. That's it. The crazy thing to me is, how is it the DOJ is getting involved now, calling it voter intimidation. How is it intimidating someone that you're sitting there watching? Like, you're allowed to be in public, you're allowed to be armed, you're allowed to wear armor. None of that is a crime. If they started screaming at people and chasing after them and stuff, yeah, okay, there you go. But they're claiming that someone came up and then some people started taking pictures of them and they're like, that's intimidation. And it's like, bro, you're in public.
It's a different law, but it's the same story that we had with the FACE Act, which is the freedom to access clinic entrances, which they used against abortion protesters that often would just
they're using
praying.
right now.
Right, they're using right now.
Yeah.
But there were some Supreme Court cases and you can't be as aggressive. But yeah, they're still using it. Here's another law where they creatively apply it to people to get their preferred ends. So
I don't know. What do you guys think is going to happen?
Jeez, you want to go for it?
No, you go ahead.
Oh man, regarding these, I kind of agree that
I just think in general, not even just this. I think what happens on the 8th?
Unless you create faith in the voting system as a whole, I think it's going to slowly unravel. Right. And for that, it's like, I don't like digitized voting counting proprietary software, because I don't care if I'm mailing it in, handing it to a guy, putting it in a box and he's carrying it. If it's being tallied by a machine and the code's in private, I don't know if they're flipping at 5149 behind the scenes. I've actually seen testimony of like developer that did that. Clint Eugene Curtis. I don't know if you ever heard his story, but he wrote the software to flip the votes 5149 for a politician. So
Democrats were making these same claims that Trump supporters were making. And you see the Hillary Clinton thing already? Hillary Clinton came out
Oh,
and
yeah.
said the Republicans are planning on stealing 2024.
It's okay. It's
Dude.
okay when she does it.
It's I don't even care at this point. I'm just like, the Democrat and Republican culture, the liberal and conservative culture is it's two distinct things, two completely different realities, and it's been that way for a long time. And now you've got both sides accusing each other of cheating. I don't care who you think is right, left, right, up, down, whatever. The fact is, two factions think both sides are stealing the election. Both sides disagree with each other's culture. How does that resolve itself?
Yeah.
Is just seriously, to the people who think it's silly when I say things like civil war, do you think the end result is going to be that, like, Hillary Clinton walks up to Trump and says, "How could I stay mad at you?" And then Trump's like, "Come here," and they hug? Is it going to be like the BLM marcher with the black mask on and the Molotov sees the Trump supporter with the MAGA flag, and then he drops the Molotov and goes, "What have I become?" And the Trump supporters, "Come here, buddy," and then they hug.
Is there a Pepsi there and
Yes.
Kylie Jenner? There you
right.
go. That could work. Hey.
Do they think that Kylie Jenner is going to walk up to a BLM and Trump supporter and hand them both Pepsis? Then they're going to both look at each other and then hug? Seriously, though, for what reason at any point would any of this de-escalate? I'm looking for a legitimate argument.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see any form of de-escalation. I'm seeing a lot of people adding fuel to the fire. I'm seeing this getting totally out of hand. This building up of calling elections illegitimate has been happening for many years now. The groundwork has been set for this. Specifically when we look at, the Trump election, the Russian collusion, and all the people coming forward saying, "I don't trust this election. I don't trust this voting box. I don't trust this voting machine." And I think there are some, legitimate questions. I think a lot of people are also sensationalistic and hyperbolic in a way that doesn't serve anyone's interest. But at the end of the day, that's a good question that you asked here. And that's something that I've been thinking about for a very long time. And I see no off-road. I see no way of stopping this train coming ahead of a major disaster inside of the United States.
The only thing that I can see that can fix this is if you do have one party, and I would say probably Republican, landslide so that their side can see faith in it, and then they win again, and there's some kind of strong agenda that they put in place that can bring people to heel. So
But if the Republicans wins, the Democrats are going to say that they
beating
cheated.
people down is about the only way that I can see that this works.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Wrong. No. I don't agree. I think that if we see an overwhelming Republican victory, like Luke was saying, the Democrats will claim the Republicans cheated.
Sure.
The country's become fascist. And already there is this viral tweet where someone said, "Well, democracy is over. What are you going to do?" And someone responded with, "I'm going to join the resistance." Now, look, I'm not confident the left has the ability to form any meaningful resistance, but you need to, I've been harping on this because I've been reading a lot more about the Civil War. The South was a lot of states, relatively, but not a lot of people. It was like 2-1 north to south. They were the minority, a substantial minority. And then slave owners were an even smaller minority. So, we may think like Democrats might break Republican and independent, but looking at Hillary Clinton and her cohorts and the cult members, there's a strong faction there, and they're not going to accept a Trump victory. Now here's a scenario to imagine. There's a Supreme Court ruling that's coming soon that that may set the precedent. The state legislatures decide who gets the electoral votes. I mean, that's literally what the Constitution says. And for the longest time, the legislatures have said, "Oh, we'll do an election. The people of our state vote, and then they vote for the electors to go and do it. We don't appoint them." But according to the Constitution, the state legislature could appoint the electors however they see fit. It is to be determined by them. The way the country's supposed to work, we vote for our state reps, senators, representatives. They then represent us to the federal government. We've slowly changed that with the popular vote for the president and with the 17th Amendment, the popular vote for the Senate. That could change. If this ruling goes down, imagine this scenario. 2024 election. Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, whatever. The popular votes come in, Biden gets it. The statewide votes come in, Electoral College goes to Joe Biden. But hold on there a minute. Lawsuits are immediately filed. Questions arise. Poll observers, witnesses, testimony comes out. Several states say, we cannot issue a determination at this time. This puts the Electoral College up in the air. Two things could happen. We could see the House do a simple vote. We saw this based off of House delegations. There was a concern that in 2020, because I think there were 26 House delegations that were Republican or something like that, Donald Trump would have won if it was pushed to a House delegation vote. With this Supreme Court ruling, something else could happen. A state like Michigan simply says, evidence has been brought to our attention, which leads us to believe, this amount of votes or that amount of votes are not correct or are illegitimate. Therefore, we as the state legislature nullify them. The victory goes to Donald Trump. What would the left do in that position? They'll say Hillary Clinton predicted this. The extremist MAGA Republicans are stealing the country. And then what? Do you think they just say, well, I guess I'll go hang out at home?
This has happened before. I mean, there've been cases where states have flipped, and I don't see anything wrong with that process per se. I mean, the whole thing about, you can get into Republican form of government problems if the state legislature is not even holding an election or something like that. But at the end of the day, there have to be processes in place to count the votes, to make sure that there's a state actor who's certifying things and sending them to the archivist and whatnot. So I don't see a problem. It's happened before. I guess the main thing I'll say is I don't really see that as happening because, look at what happened in 2020. Mike Pence, wouldn't look under the hood. Nobody looked under the hood. You go state after state, people don't check under the hood because they've got people beating down their door. So I don't see that happening. You gave Michigan as an example. I don't see, Shirky or whatever his name is, the lead at the legislature there entertaining that sort of a thing. Time and time again, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, you see weak Republican leadership that doesn't do that. So I don't really see that as so much of a possibility. I see the more thing I see is states battening down the hatches in these purple areas on behalf of blue candidates. It's all very dubious, and no one ever has their views aired out. Nobody ever checks under the hood. So
The clips are coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Already, I got one from Greg Rice.
Anything we can play?
The beginning, we actually missed the beginning when Fetterman said, "Hi, good night."
Really?
Yeah, I reposted that one. Yep.
Nice.
So Fetterman is asked to clarify whether he supports fracking. Quote, I support fracking and I don't. I support fracking and I stand, and I do support fracking.
great.
I love how they brought up the information and he immediately says, I never supported fracking. It's like we
That's-
literally just read on the screen that said you supported fracking in 2018. I don't know how you're gonna debate that or like
I
say
think
you
it's the other
didn't.
way around, that he didn't support fracking in 20... No, I don't know. I got it
He
backwards.
didn't. I think he said he
The
didn't.
thing about
and then he did
fracking, and
now.
nobody really brought it up, is when they first were doing it, it was really dirty. And they've advanced the chemicals that they
technology.
inject in underground, so it's a lot cleaner,
Right.
from what I've
It was
heard.
an EPA thing. It wasn't like the workers. It was like
Right.
the runoff and stuff like that. I just want to see someone splice his answer about I get knocked down and I get up again.
Chumbawamba.
I want to see thumping.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You
he
can
was
do that.
he was
There's gonna be
appealing
music- there's
to the
gonna be songs.
victim mindset. Like, if you're a victim, then I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Like, victims,
Versus surgeon. I'm a surgeon.
yeah, versus a guy who saves people's lives.
Did you
for
know
a
I
living.
was a surgeon?
Here's a
We
tweet.
do surgery by bringing people together.
David Harsanyi says, if Dasha Burns was guilty of anything, it was downplaying the extent of Fetterman's problems. And I recall all the feigned outrage. Giselle Fetterman demanding consequences. Dasha Burns interviewed Fetterman. He had used a special device, and she said that during the small talk, it wasn't clear he understood what she was saying. And a bunch of people on the left said that it's ableist, that someone with mental disabilities and brain damage should be allowed to hold office. And, they were outraged. And they said that she was wrong and it was offensive, and that criticizing Fetterman was akin to criticizing someone who needed reading glasses.
Wow.
Governor
No.
Abbott can't.
A cursory viewing of the debate determined that was a lie. Dasha Burns probably could have been a bit harsher on Fetterman. That was I can't believe he agreed to do it. I mean, Katie Hobbs won't debate Carrie Lake. Fetterman could have just been like, nah. He's up 2 points. What does he got to lose? Well, I think they know the bias in the polls favors Oz, and so he had no choice. That was bad. I mean, are they trying to lose?
That crossed my mind, but it was kind of a joke. Like, is Fetterman a plant trying to get Oz elected? Like, does he work for Dr. Oz? Are we going to find out years
Maybe.
later? Like, they were
very
always
dark.
friends. No, he's just a guy that broke, and now, but he doesn't want to let go of what he used to have.
Maybe the reason he said, I support fracking and I don't, is so that the Democrats are able to make a video of him answering however they want him to answer. Do you support fracking? I don't. Fracking. I don't. I pulled the Fetterman. Do you support fracking? I don't. I stand. And then they're going to be like, oh, then they'll run commercials saying it. I think Oz should have just been like, the floor is yours, John. Speak. Just go for it.
Yeah.
I do think Oz needed a chance to explain his positions, though.
Yeah, it was enlightening to listen to.
Yeah. We didn't get into anything else, though. We had, Kanye stuff.
What's the Kanye? Oh,
He's
yeah,
not
we're
a
coming up on
billionaire
Super
anymore?
Chats. Yeah, Kanye's net worth went from what, 2 billion to 1 to 600 million ish. He's lost about 3/4 of his wealth because his Adidas deal was canceled. Adidas canceled their. I don't even know what the deal was, but apparently it
Yeezys.
made him worth 1.5 billion.
Dude, Yeezys go for hundreds of dollars.
Yeezy shoes, as they're called. Yeezys.
And they're, I just like I've never wore. I've seen them before, and then I was just like, I ordered a couple pairs when they said they were canceling them or whatever. I'm like, all right, whatever. Not that I don't think I'm not gonna sell them or anything. I'm gonna put them on my shelf and just be like, hey, these were a thing once.
What could have been? His the Kanye West Lex Friedman interview was eye-opening. I think everybody saw at least a clip from it. Did you
I
also?
saw a little
Yeah,
small
I did.
clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of worth it. It was more of I think it was an attempt by Lex to emotionally connect with Kanye. They were both trying to be like, hey, we don't know each other. We both are engineers of a sort. Let's be friends was the kind of what they went into it. And it was contentious and kind of a mess because
I didn't watch it. I read it, and it just read to me as smarmy. Like he was talking down to Kanye and trying to play what's the problem, man?
I agree. Yeah, I was like, there's an opportunity to have a conversation with Kanye that's real and asks him to, explain himself better. But I didn't get that in that interview. It felt like it was very much like, here's what the media said, so I'm gonna argue with you about it. And Kanye was getting frustrated. He was like, dude.
And then Lex gave him do you trust me? And Kanye was like, no.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.